Hello everybody and welcome to the latest podcast. It's all about vinyl with me, Mark Roland.
And me, Push.
Hello Push, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I was just thinking, how many have we done of these?
I think it's 15, Push.
Okay.
I'm fairly sure.
Okay.
Just a quick, but just before we get started, We're going to talk about the new issue of Electronic Sound, which we actually have the actual copy of it today. I was reading about David Lynch. Here's an interesting...
Oh, no.
So
okay.
Apparently, I didn't know. Did you know this? David Lynch was a big fan of Vince Clarke and Andy Bell's synth duo.
No, I didn't know that.
No, he was quite the Erasure head.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
That's very good. That actually is better than the other two.
OMDMA.
Yeah. Okay. The other two. Yeah. Electronic Sound on your mug.
Oh, thanks for pointing that out, Push. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my Electronic Sound mug. This is actually a prototype.
Oh.
But you can buy now the Electronic Sound mug in the Electronic Sound shop. There's a black one.
Right.
With a yellow logo on it.
Right.
And there's a modular one, which is really lovely.
We should perhaps point out to people who've never watched or listened to the podcast before that we have some connections with Electronic Sound magazine, do we not?
Yes.
Which are?
Well, we founded the magazine many years ago.
It's a bit like Dennis Waterman, write the theme tune, sing the theme tune.
Yeah, so nominally this podcast is the Electronic Sound podcast, but it sort of is a lot wider than what's in Electronic
it's all
Sound.
about vinyl.
It's all about vinyl.
Except
You'll very rarely hear us talk about anything other than vinyl.
Absolutely.
We're renowned for our laser focus
on vinyl,
on the topic that we've called our podcast.
Yeah. We should probably have called it "It's Not All About Vinyl." Actually,
it's not necessarily all about.
Oh,
vinyl.
That's good.
It might be about something else.
Shall we talk about the new issue of the magazine?
We should.
So we have a new issue out today. The day, if you're listening on Thursday, the 9th or something like that of July, then it's out today. If not,
it's the 9th.
It's out the other day. And we have Mr. Gartside, Green Gartside on the cover. Scritti Politti, as you all know.
Comes with a lovely 7-inch. So it is all about vinyl.
In this instance, yeah.
On gold vinyl.
It's all about magazine and vinyl. So Scritti Politti 7-inch, gold vinyl of Wood Bees on one side, and on the other side
Perfect Way,
which was a massive hit in America.
Apparently,
I didn't really realise.
No,
that Wood Bees was kind of the probably. I think it was the biggest hit, or was it?
I think so.
Or was Word Girl bigger?
In my head, it's Wood Bees, but I don't know. I haven't fact checked that one.
No. Okay. All right. Anyway, our 7-inch that comes with the magazine. You can buy it with the vinyl or just the magazine on its own, and a lovely 20-page interview with Green by Stephen Dalton, which is he's one of our main feature writers, and it's a very, very entertaining read. Green is very good value.
There's a brilliant bit in it. I'll try and find it. It's super quick, where Stephen Dalton is sort of describing the unique position that Green occupies and Scritti Politti, because they're quite a political band. They came from a kind of squat scene, very politically committed. Yeah, they were kind of Marxist, philosophically positioned.
Green and one of the other original members of the band worked or did a lot of work for the Young Communists.
That's right.
League, maybe. Or lots of leafleting and things like that. So
I'll just quickly read this paragraph because I did like it. Fired up by cheap speed and high on the glamour of ideas, with one foot in the Frankfurt School and the other in Studio 54, Gartside was a thoroughly unique figure in pop, the missing link between Michael Jackson and Michel Foucault. I thought that was very good.
Brilliant.
Brian Wilson and Adorno to a disco beat. For a few delirious years, he very nearly became the Marxist George Michael. And Green says in this interview, oh dear, Gartside frowns, picking up my digital recorder and threatening to dunk it in his freshly poured Guinness. That's one of the worst things anyone's ever said to me.
And that's right at the beginning of the interview as well. So
splendid. It appears our interview is off to a flying start, says Stephen.
But it's kind of all like that. It's a very, very good read. And I think a really nice cover as well. We've taken the kind of the graphics from the Cupid and Psyche '85 album and used that as the main kind of as the graphics. Built the graphics around that idea with this image of Green from, I think that was from 1985, and that's certainly. He was very much a pop star, and I think if anybody wants to deny he was a pop star, just look at that picture.
I know, yeah. And I think the journey that he went on to become a pop star, which is covered in the feature, that because they were quite an abrasive and the sort of agit-prop kind of a band to start with, who would sit around and really go on about these political ideas that they wanted to get across, and that the music had to be equally difficult or to support these quite radical ideas, so the music needed to be radical as well. And then Green sort of had a bit of an epiphany, I think, where he realized that you could maybe do the same thing but with pop music, which I would argue is a far more radical idea than making clattery, difficult music to associate with lyrics that are about Marxist ideas and how to run societies. To sort of infiltrate pop with those ideas was really smart
and far more subversive than churning out lots and lots of difficult records. Which actually, to be fair, their stuff wasn't that difficult anyway. It was quite dubby and spiky, and I think.
But it was never going to be mainstream.
No, it wasn't. I remember them because I think they were from Leeds. They weren't from Leeds, but they met, I think, and came together in Leeds. Is that right? Have I got that right?
I'm going to take your word for it.
Okay. I remember it may just be that I was in Leeds in
I was going to
late
say you were definitely in Leeds.
Perhaps it's me that was in Leeds.
Just because you were in Leeds doesn't mean everything was in
everything
Leeds.
else was there.
That's not how that reality works.
It was to me. It felt like that.
Oh, fair enough.
I remember seeing them at Futurama, the first Futurama, which was definitely in Leeds.
Yes.
And then in that kind of little period after that, there was a lot of talk amongst sort of fellow students and things of Scritti Politti as like the band to talk about. And then that kind of like around the same time, a little bit later, I mean literally a few weeks later, it was Gang of Four that was then the ones to talk about. So there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
But they appealed to that same kind of audience. If you were into the pop group and perhaps Monochrome Set and bands like that, Gang of Four, Au Pairs, also very political as well, of course.
And they all circled around Rough Trade, which was a similarly politically committed idea of a record shop. Yeah. Jeff Travis. I don't know, was it actually a cooperative? I'm not sure that it actually was. It may have been, but it's certainly those ideas of egalitarian business that could be done without the capitalist impulse at the forefront of everything was what was driving the thinking behind the label anyway. Yeah,
and Scritti were definitely, I mean, they were making the first record they put out themselves, and then Rough Trade picked it up, and Jeff signed them to Rough Trade. John Peel was a huge fan as well. They got a couple of sessions with Peel. There's a great piece of footage I found, and I actually found it sort of a few weeks ago, and I've struggled to find it since, of them recording in, I can't think of the name of the studio now, of them they ring up the studio, and I think it was for Grapevine, the BBC Community kind of programme of the late 70s. Yeah. And I think they did it for that, and there's kind of like, it's a 5-minute clip, and they ring up the studio and they kind of book in to go. And the studio is run, and I think it was called Foal Studios. And it was owned and run by Dave Anderson, who had been the bass player of Hawkwind.
Okay. It all comes back to Hawkwind.
It all comes back to Hawkwind. But there's great little footage of Dave at the desk, recording them, and them in the studio doing stuff. But they were total DIY. That was their whole thing. And it was very interesting the way that then it all changed. One of the things that we talk about in the editor's letter is the fact that The Sweetest Girl was the track that a lot of people first kind of heard and thought, oh, this isn't spiky and difficult music. This is beautiful, minimal piece of music with really beautiful lyrics, and Green's voice on that track I loved. And it was the first track on NME's C81 cassette tape. And we talk in editor's letter about how that's where a lot of people first heard that track. In fact, it was released on that. That tape was done with Rough Trade as well. Okay. They did it with NME.
Right.
And that The Sweetest Girl itself, the single, it was another 18 months before the single came out.
Blimey.
And then a bit longer, maybe a year, but then 18 months before the album came out, that Sweetest Girl is on. And that version of The Sweetest Girl on the NME tape has not been released since, I don't think. It is a bit different.
Oh, okay.
Slightly different on the vocals and on the effects. Robert Wyatt plays piano on it.
Okay, another communist.
And Robert
traveler.
Wyatt is on that tape as well, doing a track himself.
Yes.
But then the other interesting thing was that then those NME tapes I loved those tapes, and I remember collecting them. It was like a couple of coupons out of the NME.
Yeah.
And a postal order for £1 or something, £1.50. And I think I've got pretty much all of the first kind of 10 or 12 of them. And the third one was called, I need to just check, was it called
C84?
No, it didn't work like that.
Oh, okay.
The last sort of big one was C86, of course. Which was the blah, blah, blah. So, Jive Wire.
Okay.
Was the third one, and Asylums in Jerusalem was on that.
Right.
So that's, again, a very different Scritti kind of track. That came out in 82. It was maybe about 9 months after the first one came out, C81 came out. But the really interesting thing about it is there's a track on there by David Gamson.
Who's that?
The track's called, he's a synth head from New York. He was a synth head from New York. He did a track on that called No Turn on Red. It's a really hard electro-funk track. Well, David Gamson is one of the three members of the classic lineup of Scritti Politti.
Of course, right. I should know that.
So, yeah. So Green got, I think, via Jeff Travis at Rough Trade,
a new lineup
was put together with David Gamson. That was then the formation of the more commercial era of
it's interesting, isn't it? Because that sort of culture of those cassettes that came on the NME and later Sounds. Do you remember Sounds did the 7-inch singles?
They did 7-inch
in
EPs,
the late 80s.
Yeah.
I think somewhere in our DNA we were probably programmed with that for our approach to making a magazine.
Well, maybe
with the 7-inch, it feels like the substantial package of our youth.
Yeah, because that's the thing about it is, I suppose they weren't cover mounts. You had to buy them. You had to actively collect tokens and send a check or a postal order in. So they weren't attached to the front of the magazine. Not everybody got them.
The Sounds ones were.
I think they might have been. Yeah, I think they might have been. And then, of course, later on, every music magazine then started putting them on the front cover of the mag. Yeah. But anyway, it's a really great feature.
Highly recommended.
Yeah, definitely. And the singles of Would-Be's. Brilliant.
It's a classic for the ages.
And also this issue we have, looking down the content, it's on the front as well. Mouse on Mars.
Mouse on Mars with Lee Scratch Perry.
Yeah, an album with a collaboration with Lee Scratch Perry. Mm-hmm. Fluke are back. Black, yeah. I used to love Fluke. They were really, they were a dance music band, but there was something else about them going on. They were very, I don't know what it was. It wasn't like they did songs particularly. It was all very kind of groove based. But I think that all of their albums were very listenable. It wasn't just dance music.
No, they weren't generic kind of. They weren't just doing music for dance floors, although it did work on dance floors.
Yeah.
But it was, it had a. I always felt that they had a sensibility that had more melodic, more development in them. I always thought of Fluke alongside Underworld.
Yeah.
That might be because I think they emerged at a similar-ish time, and they often played. I think they were often on bills together in the earlier days.
Fluke was earlier.
Was it?
Yeah, Fluke.
Okay.
I remember Fluke doing Joni, which was their Joni Mitchell sampling. White label originally, just on a white label. I remember getting that. But they were around. That was around 91. So I think 91, 92. So I think at that point, Underworld was still probably the big original band.
Yes, yeah. They hadn't. They maybe
before Darren Harrison turned up.
Dub No Bass with My Head Man was 93, wasn't
4.
it? Was it? Oh, okay. So the 12
94.
inches started appearing in 93.
Yeah, but not until, I suppose, Skyscraper, which was the big one that really introduced the new Underworld. I reviewed Underworld at somewhere like the Borderline or maybe Camden Underworld with the old lineup.
Wow.
Maybe 91, 92, something like that. I think they did 2 albums.
I think they did.
They were doing stuff, and of course they'd been Freur before that.
That's right.
And having some success. But yeah, Fluke were earlier than that. Techno Rose of Blighty, which was the first it's a great title. On Creation, if I remember rightly. If not Creation, then an offshoot of Creation. And it was a mini album, 6 tracks, if I remember rightly, and I think that was 92.
Mm-hmm.
So before Underworld,
right? They were laying the foundations.
Yeah. They always had good titles for their things as well. They did. So yeah, Fluke, and great to get them in. I've been wanting to get Fluke in the mag for ages. So that's
really good.
La Security.
Oh, I interviewed them.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, that was good. That was great. They're a really good band. I went to see them. They came and played. They did a few dates in the UK, and they were not in the least bit disappointing. They were terrific. Really good band to watch live. They're a sort of mix of influences, all sorts of stuff going in there, but there's certainly a chunk of Devo in there.
Right.
But more clattery post-punk kind of sound. Lots of the members themselves are quite disparate, so you get all these different ideas flying in. LCD Sound System comes to mind a little bit as well. And they're from Montreal, so they are
French-Canadian.
Well, they're a mix. And I think it was really interesting talking to them about how that city operates and how the scene is sort of divided in a way between the French-speaking and the English-speaking crowds, and that the French-speaking crowds tended more towards rock music, and the English-speaking crowd tended more towards the sort of indie, post-punky kind of thing, electronic-y thing, but it's kind of been changing. So that was really interesting to find that out about them. But I would very much recommend going to see them if they're in a town near you at any point.
And so there's an album out?
Yeah, they got an album out. So I think it's called Bingo, if I remember rightly, with an exclamation mark.
Right.
Or was that the first album? No, I think that's the new one. There's another. I think the other one's called Stay Safe, with an exclamation mark.
Right, okay.
They're very keen on exclamation marks.
Obviously, yeah.
But that was very good. A fun interview that kind of went into French a bit. Eliane, the singer, is a dancer as well. She does. I think she's quite involved in her city doing sort of dance workshops and stuff. And you can really see that when she plays live. She did one thing where she was sort of dancing but on one leg for a really long time.
Oh, okay.
And it's one of those things you think, you can't do that unless you've trained.
You know what you're doing.
Yeah. But yeah, synths, guitars, drums, very hard driving bass. The bass player, Felix, he kind of personifies the band in a way, because he is the twitchiest person I think I've ever spoken to. He's never still. He's always moving. And I was like, whoa, he's got a lot of energy, that guy. And you can sort of hear that in the music, this sort of, never stays still, very energetic. Great melodies, really fun. So yeah, they're good.
Well recommended.
Yeah,
then.
that was a good one. That's one of those albums when we get sent press releases, so you get emailed a press release, and I must get, I don't know how many you get. I get about 100 and something emails a day. So it's very hard to pick out. And I'm not really, Claire is our reviews editor, so she's choosing stuff to review, and Vel is the commissioning editor. He's choosing stuff for features. But I do try to, if something looks like it might appeal to me, I'll give it a spin if I've got the time.
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
was one of those where I thought, okay, this looks kind of interesting. I'll give it a minute and a half. And see. And usually you can tell immediately. It's like, oh yeah, I like this. This is great. And then the whole album just kept it up.
Excellent.
So
I must admit, I did that with somebody we've got in the front section.
Okay. Who's that?
Based purely on the name of the artist.
Let me guess.
Go on.
Is it Chimp Hardy?
It is Chimp Hardy. Didn't take you long, did it?
No. So Beastly Beats from Berlin.
Yeah, Chimp Hardy. It's very dancey. It's very kind of clubby stuff. But I love the name, and I love the stuff. It's quite. It was good. It's good. We've got A.R. Kane in the mag as well. We've got talking about Love from Outer Space.
Yes, I was listening to that track this morning. Actually,
such a good track.
That's great. Yeah,
really, really good. And we've got Plug, and Mark Jenkin.
Yeah, that's a fascinating feature because he's a filmmaker who makes his own soundtracks for his films. Much inspired by Delia Derbyshire and Brian Eno, using tape loops to create kind of drones and synthscape things that he says in the piece was really handy because he didn't record any location sound when he was making the film. So he could sort of fill the gaps in with this stuff. But he also talks about it being, he was in a quite a dark place, he says himself, when he started doing this, and he was depressed, I think you would say. And he read somewhere about Eno's discrete music where Eno described this thing. And I think somebody said, it's a great album to sort of soothe the nerves. So he went out and bought it on vinyl. And on the back of the vinyl is the diagram of how to set your two tape machines up to create the tape loop system that Eno used to make that album. And he saw that and thought, I could probably do that. I've got one tape machine. So he went and got another one and then did it. And he used a little Korg Volca synthesizer. These are these tiny little cheap plastic synths that Korg make. Very entry level. I think they're all like less than 100 quid. And he bought one of those and it worked. And he thought, this is great. And from then on, he just made his soundtrack for his films.
It's an interesting piece, something very different.
Yeah, I really like that. I like that about our magazine, that we've got things in it that are a bit different.
That you like.
That I like. And on that tip, there's the opening shot.
Yeah.
Which we call, which is this guy, Ludwig Koch, who, it's an amazing photograph.
Do you want to just pop it in front of the thing?
Yeah,
Does that go?
There you go.
So we need to talk about these.
Yeah, don't get distracted, Push, by toys. There he is. He's doing field recording.
German?
Yes, German. Escaped
just after the war.
Before the war, he escaped.
Oh right, yes.
In 1936 from the Nazis, and after the war was going around.
This photo is 1948, I think.
That's right. Yeah. But taken by his daughter, apparently.
Right.
Recording birdsong. And a couple of things I really love about it. One is this equipment that he's recording with at the time was considered compact. And it's quite unwieldy, I think, in our terms. But it's a disc cutter. He's not using tape. It's 1948. It's a little bit before tape became really available. Tape was around, but it hadn't fully hit. So he's recording live birdsong, cutting acetate discs. And the other thing that I really, really loved about this is that he then created a sort of a book, an illustrated book of birds with, I guess, I've not seen the book, but a description of the birds and maybe a drawing of them, with a record of the bird song, which is kind of like what we do.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. And if you're interested in birdsong and field recording, without wanting to shill too much, he said, about to shill hard, you can go to electronicsound.co.uk/shop, where we've got a range of T-shirts, including our field recording T-shirts, which I think are my favourites.
It's our biggest seller, the original first one of those, with a bird on it.
Yeah, they're so great.
Yeah.
And
actually, you can buy. Am I not right in saying you can also buy a print of that cover of Electronic Sound?
Yes, you can.
We've got a few prints for sale in the shop as well now.
I've got one in the office. I should have brought it in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe in the second half you could bring it in. And also, just quickly to mention, I mentioned Plug. Plug is Luke Vibert, who just to say his new kind of project, and that's a really great reason. Great photos with that as well of Luke. So just a couple of other quick things, and then we think we're going to stop and have a little break. Yep. A couple of things that I'd like to mention in the reviews section, in the back section of the mag, for they're both interesting records, certainly. One is we do a thing called Buried Treasure, which is sort of unknown-ish albums. They're kind of great records that our writers pick out that they really like, but they weren't really big records. They didn't have commercial success, and they're a bit buried down. So that's hence the name Buried Treasure. Sort
of under the radar a bit.
Yeah. So, and this issue we've done Department S album.
Is big there.
Substance, which didn't come out until 2003.
Right.
Because I think they did 3 or 4 singles, including obviously Is Vic There, but then they never actually put together an album. And I think some stuff originally came out. Some stuff came out because Vaughan Toulouse, the singer, died from an age-related illness in 1991, I think it was.
I'm just going to say, his name is Vaughan Toulouse.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard it said, and I've thought, is that Born to Lose?
Well, that's what I always thought.
What I'm saying to you, I'm confessing my absolute idiocy.
I'd never tripped into you before.
Only when you just said
right, okay.
Born to Lose. That's brilliant.
Yeah, he was a brilliant man.
He held his microphone
they should have been. They should have. I think, in my opinion, they should have been. The reason, but part of the reason. I mean, it's great that we've got it in there, and it's great that there was an album eventually came out, and
so it was recorded.
At the time, it was all recorded. I believe so.
80s.
Anyway, yeah. Vaughan Toulouse. I went to see Department S playing at West Runcton Pavilion, which was a venue in Norfolk, in the middle of nowhere, right on the cliffs, sort of on the edge of the cliffs, North Norfolk, a most godforsaken place ever.
I saw the Exploding Hamsters there once.
The King's Lynn Band.
Yeah.
I saw Adam and the Ants there. I saw Culture there, the reggae band. I saw lots of Piranhas, I remember seeing. But anyway, Department S I went to see, and I interviewed Vaughan Toulouse backstage after they'd played. It was the first time I'd ever interviewed a musician, and it was for the first issue of my fanzine. And he gave me like an happy cheese. And I remember being really nervous about, going into I think Is Vic There had just kind of become a hit. This was just around the time that he was on Top of the Pops. They were doing On Top of the Pops. So the idea of going and interviewing somebody, and I was quite nervous about it. And he was lovely. I remember sitting there for about an hour with him while he talked, and they were kind of packing stuff up all around us, and yeah, he was great. And I've never read. Well, I say never. I haven't read it back for many years. I should dig it out and see what it was like actually. That's great. So that's a connection for me. And the other thing I want to quickly mention is a review of Pure Motorized Instinct.
Okay.
Now, this is an album that's called At Last I'm Leaving the Earth.
Right.
And Pure Motorized Instinct is Stephen Jarvis, who was in Nagamatsu. with Andrew Legowski. And this is a compilation of, he did 2 albums in the 90s as Pure Motorized Instinct, and this is a compilation coming out on Dark Entries of some of that stuff that he did in the 90s.
Dark Entries is a great label.
It's a great label. This is a great record. Definitely check this out. We've given it a nice big review. But the reason I'm sort of intimate recently in sort of talking about it now is that with Department S being the first band I ever interviewed for my fanzine, Nagamatsu with Stephen Jarvis and Andrew Legowski were the first band I ever interviewed for Melody Maker.
Oh, okay.
So I have a very sort of deep fondness for.
We're joining the dots
guys.
of your
joining the dots.
writing history.
Stephen lives in Norwich. Here in Norwich, where we are as well. So, But check out the album. It's really good. Pure Motorized Instinct. So that's a couple of things just to pick out from the back.
Great.
So,
okay,
should we have a little break?
Let's have a break there, and we'll come back. And
we're going to come back, and when we come back, we're going to go back to the Mouse on Mars feature because they've recorded this album with Lee Scratch Perry. And they previously recorded many years ago an album with Marky Smith.
They did.
And you and I both have good stories, hopefully good stories, about Marky Smith and Lee Scratch Perry.
I'm looking forward to your Lee Scratch Perry.
And I'm looking forward to your Marky Smith.
Okay.
Back in a minute.
If you're enjoying the podcast, you can support us by going to electronicsound.co.uk/shop and buying a back issue of the magazine, or you could buy a record. There's some CDs there. There's all sorts. Any purchase will really help us. So thank you very much. Welcome back. So we said we were going to talk about the new Mouse on Mars thing. Mainly we're going to use that as an excuse to talk about Lee Scratch Perry and Marky Smith. But before we do that, we probably ought to address these peculiar things. I don't really know why they're here.
You didn't put them there?
I did not put them there.
Oh.
Paul put them there. Paul. Oh, Jonty put them there. Paul does our camera thing. Jonty's doing the live edit. It's a pig. It's like your worst nightmare if you just watched, I don't know, Britannia Hospital. You know that film? Or Island of Lost Souls, or one of those things of mutations, or there's some mad scientist who crosses a pig with, in this instance, I think, a sheep.
And this is looks like a cow at the front and a dog at the back.
And they come in these.
But they come apart. That's the whole point. So when you buy these things...
Puzzle malls.
As opposed to animals.
So then we're not getting paid for this. It's made by a company called Schleich. Wildlife Farm World, 144 combinations. It's this one's a lamb and a question mark. What could it be?
So you can see, what
you can see one half,
but you don't know what's in the other half.
What the other half is. It's a bit like a Muller corner, isn't it? You expect to find some yogurt in there. Or something.
That to me though, that's like cheese. That's like cheese for children. That's the packaging.
Cheese for children.
Yeah. Children's cheese. Is there no such thing?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think so, but there might be. Ages 3 to 8, Series 1. Can I open this? Yeah. All right. What do you think is going to be in there? There's a
giraffe.
There's a lamb. It's a farm world. Push.
Can't be a giraffe.
Right. Okay.
I did say helicopter once.
What, for a farm?
I didn't understand the rules.
Okay. So I think it's probably going to be a farm. Chicken.
Okay. Let's see.
Chicken.
We got
chicken's head.
It's another. It's one of those. It's another dog, and another. Well, look what we can do.
Hang on a minute. You've got two back halves. You've got two back halves.
No. Look. Oh God. Is this podcast supposed to be doing this?
Oh, that's not a sheep. That's a donkey.
Is this entertaining?
It's a
Is this what people? Oh, hold on. No, that is. You're right. You're quite right. Two back halves. So look, you've got one of those. Good. I'm going to leave that there. Mouse on Mars.
Yes. So Mouse on Mars have got this album coming out. Can we
yeah, they're very distracting.
I don't mind the donkey if it's a donkey, but the other Harvey things, cut and shut animals.
Yeah, that's a bit. There's something wrong with it, really.
Yeah.
So they've made an album with Mouse on Mars, Dusseldorf duo.
Yep.
Electronic band. Debut album Vulvaland, very good.
They've been around
96.
Whoa, 30 years then.
Yeah,
so,
something like that. I think I remember seeing them in London.
They've done some very interesting records over the years, haven't they?
Yeah, they're great, and they've now made a record, or they made it while Lee Scratch Perry was still alive, and it's just coming out now.
Yeah,
called Spatial No Problem, which apparently was one of Lee's Scratch Perry's aphorisms in the studio when they said something about we'll do it in spatial. Brilliant. Or something like that. But we thought we'd just finish up the podcast by chatting about the fact that Mouse on Mars worked with Lee Scratch Perry, who you interviewed.
I did.
And I'm looking forward to hearing how that went. And Marquis Smith. They had a project called Von Sudenfed. The album was called Troxmatic Reflections, I think.
I think it was something like that. And that came out about 20 years ago?
Early 2000s, maybe 2003, I think.
Right.
Which is a pounding electronic record with Marquis Smith over the top of it, doing Marquis Smith, and it's brilliant. But it kind of that was one of those records that I thought would blow up a bit, but it didn't. It sort of another under the radar a little bit, but it's really
essentially
good
at this time it's credited to Mouse on Mars and Lee Scratch Perry, whereas that was a kind of a separate project.
Yes,
and maybe if it had been by Mouse on Mars and Marquis Smith, it might have might have blown up a bit more than it did.
I mean, you always hear these sort of hair-raising stories about Marquis Smith, and his legend is huge, isn't it? Like the kind of difficulty was. But so the piece, they describe him as they had a great time. He was really good to work with, and one take, that was it.
Right.
They just capture what he had to say, and then sort of weave it in. And I got the impression that he worked much the same way with The Fall, in a way, that the band would get together, some of them would bring some riffs or a song in, and they would grind away at it for a while. Smith would be down the pub. He'd come back from the pub and he'd go, oh, yeah, that one, let's work on that. Then he'd do his thing, and then there'd be a song, and then they'd move on, and that would be that. That's how they kind of put it all together, I think. So his input was sort of being Marquis Smith, but also circus mastering the whole shooting match.
I remember interviewing somebody, I'm trying to think when it was and who it was. Awful, isn't it? Who talked about Marquis Smith and knowing Marquis Smith and him going around the pub at one point when he started the label, which was called Cog Sinister. And basically going, you're going to be on my label, you're going to be on my label. What are you? Do you want to be on that? You can be on that, And that sort of ringmaster kind of thing. Let's go back to, so you interviewed him in when? What year was it? Can you remember?
I interviewed him when Extricate came out in 1990, I think.
Right. So you were doing your Scratch, the fanzine.
I think I might have mentioned that before. The Scratch magazine was the fanzine I did. And Extricate came out. I was a huge Fall fan, and so we rang up the record label and said, can we interview him? And they said, yeah. And organised it as a phone interview. So I was in my flat waiting for Marquis Smith to call me. And I wasn't a very experienced music journalist, a bit like you going to do Department S. Here's Marquis Smith's about to ring my flat. It seemed like a very surreal experience that was about to happen. And then he did ring on time. This was when they were signed to a major label, so I think everything had got quite disciplined for The Fall, and Brix was involved, and I think she was quite an influence on making sure everything was done properly. And we sort of, just started chatting, and I think I said something like, it's phone interviews are sort of difficult, as if I knew. It's much better face-to-face, isn't it? Just to break the ice, really. And he said, you want to do face-to-face? Yeah, come down to London and get record label to pay for your train ticket. And they did. So the next day I went down to London. Oh, the next day,
brilliant.
And I met him in a pub. I can't remember where. And talked about Extricate. And
was he just on his own in the pub?
Craig Leon was there as well. Sorry, Craig Scanlon, the guitarist of The Fall. Craig Leon was a producer, wasn't he? Was he in the Smiths?
Oh dear.
Rewind. But yeah, no, it was Craig Scanlon, the guitarist. And who was just reading the paper,
right,
and ignoring everything that was going on, smoking fags. And Smith was, I just put my tape machine down and we just chatted for an hour or so. It was great. I was very, very, very nervous because I was fully aware of his reputation. I'd remembered he did an interview with the NME where it was him, Nick Cave, and what's his name out the Pogues?
Shane
MacGowan. Where they were all insane. It was like this. Did you remember that? It was a bit of a legendary cover.
That,
they were just, all three of them were berserk. And I was thinking, oh Christ! And I brought it up, and he was so indiscreet about what was going on, which I'm not going to share. But the stuff he said that was going on was just absolute. The amount of drugs that were being hoovered up,
allegedly.
Yeah, it was incredible. But so I was kind of expecting one of those NME confrontational. I thought I'm going to have to really stand my ground somehow here against this huge figure of the contemporary music scene, whose music I loved. But it didn't turn out like that at all. And I think partly because I knew what I was talking about, and I think he clocked that I really liked The Fall.
Right.
And I'd like to think he thought that I understood what they were doing. I mentioned Can quite early. That helped, I think. So we talked about Can for a bit. And I also said how much I'd enjoyed Hit the North, which had come out not that long before. And because it was quite electronic-y, and a lot of Fall fans hated it. And they got a lot of grief for it. And I said, I think it's, I don't know what they're talking about. I think it's great. And I think he liked that. I think because he said, oh, it's my fucking band. Put that fucking sound in there. It's good. And I was like, yeah, that's right, Mark. It is good. But we got on like a house on fire, and he was very, very funny. He was just hilarious. And I had a best time. The only problem with it was that we were in a pub.
Right.
That was tricksy.
Right.
Because I bought, he bought me a drink.
Yeah.
And he'd sunk his pint, and I was about that far through mine. And then he said, "Are you going to get him in then, or what?" So, oh, fuck yeah. So I went and got another. And then I tried to keep up with him, basically, which was not a good idea. I was absolutely slaughtered by the end of that hour. I only drank 3 pints, but that's a pint too many for me.
Yeah, well, when your adrenaline's going as well,
yeah,
you got it all running around your veins.
Yeah, so that was a shocker, but it was great. Yeah, and then I think I might have mentioned before that I interviewed him again some years later, and he remembered quite a lot of years later. I think like 8 years later, 9 years later, and he remembered it.
That's brilliant.
Which really surprised me. I wasn't expecting it at all, and he was in a very different place then, because in 1990 they were doing really well. They're probably at their peak of commercial popularity.
Right.
They were selling 1,500, 2,000 seater capacity places out, which they hadn't done before, and they didn't do since.
Yeah.
They sort of built up to that, and they were sort of really, they were in smash hits and things like that around that era.
Yeah, there was a weird period, wasn't there, when Bricks was around.
Exactly, so they sort of brought this pop sensibility to it, which I really loved. I thought that was actually their best era for me.
It's kind of a bit like what we were talking about with Scritti Politti earlier on about, obviously The Fall never became what Scritti Politti did, but the idea of being slightly more commercial and a bit more playing to the audiences, and then getting your messages, whatever it is that Marky Smith wants to put across.
Sort of unlikely, but Bricks brought a real melodic sensibility to it, which I think really worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, when the second time I interviewed him, he'd just had that awful breakup in New York with the band where they'd had a fight on stage. I think Martin Brahma. No, it was the drummer came out from his drum kit and attacked him. And yeah, it was all going horribly wrong. So and he'd had a court order against him, and got arrested in New York. So the band had fallen apart, and he was still very funny and charming and good company. And it seems that Mouse on Mars thought much the same. Yeah. So that was good.
Yeah. It's interesting that people have these kind of the public persona of people what people think about people isn't always the way.
Yeah, and you catch people on good days and bad days.
That's absolutely true.
And, the trouble with being well known in that way is that if someone catches you on a bad day, and, when you're in a band and you're traveling all the time and you've got a hangover and, you are going to be grumpy sometimes. And if that's their only interaction with you, that becomes who you are to them. But it's rarely actually the case.
Yeah. But
you interviewed Lee Scratch Perry.
I did, yeah. So that was an experience.
Mouse on Mars collaborator.
Yeah. And then I suppose... So I interviewed Lee Perry in 1987.
Early doors.
So he
not for him.
Not for him,
you.
no. For me, I was still pretty green. Not this sort of green. That's green. That's in Scritti Politti. I can make a joke there, a bit like you make your jokes, but I'm not going to.
You could say it's a bit like, or you could say it's not really at all like it, because mine was really good.
Okay. All right. What do you think, Paul?
I don't know. The camera's getting hot.
Oh, the camera's getting hot. I can feel it, man. Are we good? Are we still...
It'll on you for if it cuts, it's a technical thing.
Oh, right, okay.
We're on you for now.
Okay, all right, cool. So, Lee Perry had done an album called Time Boom X De Devil Dead with Dub Syndicate. And he'd done it in London. He'd done it at Southern Studios in North London. And there are lots of stories about the recording of the album, which I didn't really get into in the piece. What maybe I should do is just read the opening paragraph of it.
Yeah. I'd like to hear this.
Sets the tone. It's just the first 3 or 4 sentences. I am the first black Jew you'll ever meet, he says. And later he declares, I am Hitler. I rule the swastika. Later on in the interview, he also professes to be Tarzan and Perry Mason. That's what I was dealing with. This album was terrific. I think it's probably my all-time favourite Lee Perry album.
Right.
When they were recording it, the stories I heard was that he went up to Southern Studios and he ripped out all the wiring.
Okay.
Because he wanted to feel it all. He even ripped out the plumbing as well to make sure it was right, and then put it all back together. Whether that's a story or not, I don't know. Whether it happened, I suspect it may well have done. When I interviewed him, he was 2 to 3 hours late. They'd sent a cab for him to come to take him to where I was, which was at Rhythm King / Mute Records on Harrow Road. And he'd got in the cab and told the cab to take him to Southend, which was the other direction. And they had to keep getting on the phone to the cab driver or the, whatever. Not long before mobile phones.
The dispatcher.
On the intercom, whatever it was, to say, tell him to just ignore what Mr. Perry says and bring him here. Turn around, come back. Anyway, he then eventually arrived with another guy who I don't know whether he was his manager or his minder or what, but huge guy wearing a big coat out of which he produced a big bottle of rum and a big bag of spliff. And that was them set for the next kind of hour or so that I was with them. He was difficult to interview.
It sounds like it.
Because he wasn't really kind of in the same channel as anybody else. But he was also very straight talking, though, in a weird kind of way.
Okay.
I was nervous about it, but when you do interview, you're a bit nervous about it, you start it and it all kind of goes away.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Oh, really?
My nerves continued throughout the whole process.
Toes.
As far as I can remember, he'd really kept me on my toes the whole time. He did this thing at one point where he said he wanted me to close my eyes. And he was wearing these dark glasses.
Yeah.
And I'd been kind of like focused on him. And seeing my reflection in his glasses was mostly what I could see. And he also did this thing. He said, I want you to close your eyes. But before he did that, he went and stood in front of this big window. So I'd been looking at him, the sort of outline of him through the window. And he said, I want you to tell me what you see. And I wrote about it because I kind of had to. So he says, he tells me to close my eyes and describe what I see. having concentrated for more than an hour upon his intimidating figure, trying, sometimes desperately, to penetrate the yellow round-framed dark glasses, all I have in my mind is a picture of his eyeless stare. So I say so. That's the truth, he grins. And when I ask him how long he's been doing that trick, he replies, all my life. And that was what it was like. That was what it's like.
See,
they kind of
when you're new to interviewing and somebody does that to you, you're probably thinking, your other half of your brain that's sort of running in the background, trying to keep the systems going.
Yeah,
is probably thinking, oh my God, this has gone so horribly wrong. This is a disaster.
Yeah,
but obviously, actually, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
It's
brilliant. It's absolutely
gold,
brilliant.
Yeah.
The last little bit really is that he said then at one point, I asked him what was next for him. And he said, to make the Queen of England my wife, fire the Duke and live in Buckingham Palace. I want to give the Queen a chance to have sex with me. If she did, it would cure her of her illnesses and loosen her tongue. I know she's tongue-tied. She's a lovely girl, a beautiful girl. Now, that part of my brain that's still trying to be normal in the background is trying to think, how do I follow that up? So what I followed it up with was a question which said, what about Margaret Thatcher? Because couldn't think of what else to say, And he just came back straight away with, bah, you expect me to like a witch. So
wow.
It was interesting. And weirdly, you talk about meeting Marky Smith several years later. A couple of years later, I did meet him at the Powerhouse. I was promoting, Scratch, at the Powerhouse. I was putting on bands at the Powerhouse, me and a couple of others. And we had Dub Syndicate playing one night, and Scratch turned up, and he had a saucepan on his head, jammed right down. And
with the handle?
With the handle, yeah. And I tried to speak to him at the bar, but he didn't remember me.
Just as well.
Probably was, yeah. Yeah, Scratch.
Well, thank you for sharing that beautiful memory.
And you too. I mean, I guess Marky Smith and Lee Scratch Perry they're originals, aren't they? And they'll never be repeated.
Yeah,
those guys.
Yeah, absolute one-offs, definitely. And people like that don't come along very often. And to have been able to sort of sit down, I always think this about our job, especially then maybe when we were probably writing more than we do now because we're running the magazine a bit more than sort of writing. But it gave you the excuse or a reason to sit down with some very interesting people and talk to them in this slightly strange, organised manner. So it's not like a social event, but it's also not really like a formal interview either, because it's Melody Maker or whoever. It's a rock and roll thing that's happening, and everybody knows why they're there and what they're doing. And you get this, you get to have that experience that you wouldn't normally get. I mean, I always think that I'm a music journalist because I love writing, but I love words going with pictures, and I like magazines. All of that means a lot to me. But the real thrust of it is I love bands, I love music, and I'm really interested in people's thoughts and why they do the things the way they do them. But as a fan, I've been backstage at those things where meet and greets that seem to be the popular thing now, where you pay a stupid amount of money, get to shake hands and get your picture taken with them, and you don't really get to have a proper conversation. The power dynamic is very uneven. Whereas when you're a music journalist, the power dynamic is much more flat, and it can tilt. And so I think it leads to, it's a very privileged, I always felt very privileged.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be able to do that and to have the access and to be treated in that way where, okay, we're going to block off an hour, a couple of hours, and you're going to sit and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, this person is going to think about what you're saying and have that conversation. So good times.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Brilliant. Okay.
We'll look it on the head there, shall we?
Yes. Have we had our time? I guess we have.
I think we have.
So it's good night from me.
And it's good night from me.
And good night from the donkey. Is it a donkey? Whatever it is.
I don't know. your bizarre mutant experiment.
It's like a wolf at the front. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks for listening
Thank
and
you.
watching.
Yes.
See you again.
Bye-bye.